that had appointed him was asked to replace that nomination. And we have a new member of our Charter Review Committee, Keely Quinn. Keely, would you like to say anything about yourself? To get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm Keely. I've lived in and around Littleton for most of my life and was able to buy a house a couple years ago and happy to be planted here. I'm the founder of Lake Pride Littleton and the Downtown Littleton Farmers Market, and also serve with Denise on the Arts and Culture Board. Happy to be here.
Awesome.
What's your name?
I'm Keely Quinn.
Love the farmers market. Go every Sunday, so you should support local business. It helps our city to be vibrant, be a very good place to have life. There is another item that we want to remind you and maybe inform you, educate, and that is the matter that with the election coming up, you probably will see told or targeted for questions from your neighbors, or who knows, there's a pretty big ballot question. And we wanted to ask our city attorney to give us some guidelines as to what not to say. And, we are, as a reminder, we're a committee. We are not elected officials, but, our statements need to be careful because this body does not have power to a large degree, but it's important to at least know how to not run afoul of our boards and commissions agreement, which you should have turned into Colleen already. Keely, this is your first time here, so I guess you'll have to turn it in today. But if you haven't, make sure to sign it and Colleen. City Attorney Reed, yes.
Didn't know I'd be called.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a reminder. So at this point, I don't believe that our council has asked for our Charter Review Committee to weigh in on anything related to this matter. So if it does pass in November, then perhaps we'll circle back to that particular and see if there are any changes or additions. You all, as just like myself, Colleen, Mike, as we're city employees, but even as appointees, there's nothing that we want, the city wants to stifle your own independent thoughts on these things. So if you're talking to individuals out in the community and they ask your opinion, you're free to give your opinion as your own person. It's just because you work for the city and the city may have different thoughts, or city council may have different thoughts on things, does not in any way limit you as an individual from expressing your own opinions on something. Where we try to be careful of is making sure that when you're making those, when you're making those thoughts known, that it's not being construed to be, I'm Jose, the chairperson for this board, and I think this is the greatest thing ever, and everyone needs to vote for it. That this is coming from you as an individual, and so that's where we kind of draw the line. For city employees, and I actually need to send an email out to them, but there's nothing that precludes them from using their own time to advocate for candidates, for ballot questions. They can't do it on city time. They can't use city resources to do that. So I can't be using a copier upstairs and photocopying a bunch of stuff and doing things like that. That is strictly prohibited by the Fair Campaign Practices Act. But yeah, I do want you all to know that, just because you are appointed to this does not mean that you have given up your own rights to advocate on your own time or whatever it is that you all want to do. So hopefully that clears up.
Any questions around that?
So is there a bright line around, do not say, I am Billy, I have been serving on the charter committee and my personal opinion is this? Or just don't say, I've been talking to a lot of the charter committee, and I think the majority believes.
I think it's just being careful so that they don't believe that you're representing the entirety of this committee or the city when you're making those representations. Okay. But, sure, you're on a board with the city. I mean, you could say that. I don't know how relevant that is, other
That sounds
than,
made up.
yeah.
Alright. Perfect. I believe all of you received the parking lot questions, as we have called them, an email. Are there any concerns about this or any further questioning that we may need to clarify about the sections outlined in the parking lot? This is just a cursory review. If you have it, we're gonna put it back into the parking lot so that we can get more clarification. So,
And there will be opportunities throughout this process. We will keep revisiting these. So even after this meeting, if you go back and look at that again and say, oh, I should have asked this or that, just shoot the question to me so that we can fill that out. And so that the next time I send this to you, it's got more information. I mean, the parking lot really should be kind of a living, breathing document as we go through, especially the first half of this process, where we're doing that high level review. I know that I've added some things to it today based on questions and comments from Kent and Billy. So, and that's good. That's what we want. So you'll see those when the next round comes through. Yeah.
Is there any way that you can note whether additions have been made, so we don't have to review and try to figure it out? Okay.
like a date, like, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, these were the ones from this meeting,
Right.
these are the ones from this meeting. Yeah, that's a good idea. Perfect.
But we may have some that reference back to the first meeting, and so I'll make sure and find a way to highlight those
Mhm.
so that it's obvious. Similar to what we do with council's tentative calendar, we put things in red. We've added them since they last saw it. And then once it goes out again, we take the red off,
Ah,
right? So
that's fair
we
enough.
can do something similar to that if red isn't my favorite, kind of get your attention. So we can do something similar since, does that?
Perfect. Any other?
So
Yes,
Could you tell me who you replaced?
Phil Cooper,
Pardon me?
Phil Cooper.
Oh, okay.
I was appointed by Rob.
So just for Keely's edification, what we're calling the parking lot is serving as both like, I don't understand what this means, please explain it to me, and also like, this is something I think maybe we should put on the list of things for further discussion of maybe this is a section that we would recommend the council to be updated.
And I shared a copy of that with you.
and as a reminder, we are doing this first cursory review, trying to get as many things as we can, and then starting in January is when we're going to start diving deeper, looking into the information, and hopefully making those recommendations that will be helpful for council. Yeah, okay. No extra, yes.
I was gonna ask Colleen if you could get us something that would make it easier in my research is the date 11/3/15 shows up a lot on here. And I was kind of curious, what actually went on the ballot? What didn't pass and what did pass? Because I do have the recommendations, but I don't know how those actually translated.
It was the first time out, or they may even be part of your book.
They are.
Yeah, they may be part of the book, Josh. So with the original.
I think it's pink.
The pink tab.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were 30 recommendations from the Charter Review Committee. 10 went on the ballot, 7 passed. And so when you're seeing that 11/13/2015,
That's all. it is.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I realized that a lot of them were just adding
And,
M and stuff like
yes,
that. So
yes.
Well, that was 30 on the, 30 were recommended, 10 went on the ballot and 7.
That's correct, yes. And the ones that failed are highlighted in yellow on the pink. Pink section, yes. And I can see why the fire department,
Well, but it's
Yeah.
volunteer fire.
the volunteer fire,
Um,
I think it was not the fire department, I think it was the health services, but
Well, I
that's.
think it's because it was combined, I think,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
That's perfect. Any further parking lot review questions? Okay, let's pull up the charter. We have some old business. We have a long section from Article 3, Section 27. So this is council meetings, open and executive question.
So any,
Any parking lot questions when it comes to this specific section?
Section 27.
That's correct, yes. Article 3, section 27. Article 3. Yes.
I guess I can start us off by giving us a little bit of history and Carol can correct all my statements, but so the Colorado Open Meetings Law, which governs how meetings are conducted by local government bodies, basically has all the requirements to hold a meeting. So 24-hour notice, be able to put together an agenda with as much detail as we can about what's going to be discussed. Certain things like that. And the whole purpose behind the open meetings law was really to keep it open. I mean, it's also known as the Sunshine Act or the Sunshine Law. And it's designed to provide some transparency for when decisions are being made by a public body. And that those decisions are being made in public, where the public actually has a right to know how those decisions are being made and what those decisions are. Within that specific section, the open meetings law, there is a section that governs executive sessions. And executive sessions are generally those sessions where they're not open to the public, where the doors are closed, the public is not allowed in, and discussions happen around a variety of different things. And those are enumerated within the actual state statute for why you can convene an executive session, and it's normally to talk with an attorney. And it's to talk to an attorney over a variety of things. Sometimes it is what we would consider to be instructions to negotiators. So from time to time, the city is given opportunities to purchase properties. It's great, and I think that you all could probably imagine that to be able to have that discussion. Are we interested? What's the amount of money that we can pay? What's the most that we can pay? And making
Like an open space or something like that.
something like that, yeah. I mean, we've had people come to the city before saying, hey, we've got this property, we want it. And we take a look and say, God, do we even have any money for this? What will we actually do with it? Those discussions. So that's more of strategy that happens. And, it doesn't serve the public very well if they know exactly how much money you have and how much money you're willing to pay when you start those negotiations with a property owner saying, we're not giving them the highest amount that we have that doesn't benefit the city. Personnel issues. So sometimes, in the past, council likes to meet with city managers or city attorneys to tell them how bad they're doing
How awesome they're doing.
or that. Not very often. But it does kind of have a chilling effect if that is happening in an open setting. So there's a variety of different reasons on why you could have an executive session. Litigation is something else. When we're trying to kind of educate council as to a certain case that's going on, what the thoughts could be, settlement potentials, those types of things are probably better served if they're occurring outside of the public where, plaintiffs can actually hear what we're talking about and hear about my concerns that I have with the case. And oh my goodness, if this goes to trial, we are in trouble. Not something that I want out there. And so there's a lot of legitimate reasons to have executive sessions for public bodies. And the whole purpose is not to protect an individual council person or anything from their thoughts or decisions. It's really based on the public interest that we're not serving the public very well if certain information is out there for consumption. Anywho, back in 2013, the city of Littleton was going through a different time. And it led to a ballot question being initiated, which basically really cut back the abilities to have executive sessions. And I won't speak for the reasons therefore, but I think there was probably an overwhelming thought that a lot of decisions were being made behind closed doors, that all these were happening outside of the public view, and the city council was just up there rubber stamping all these decisions that they had made in executive sessions. So in 2013, executive sessions in the city of Littleton were very much cut back, and to the point where the only time you can have an executive session is to talk about litigation that's already happening in the court, or for the requirement that it's required to be held, it's required to be kept confidential according to state and federal law. That's it. So the instruction to negotiators, getting legal advice on certain questions that council may have, we weren't able to do that. And it passed overwhelmingly. I want to say it was 75% of the voters had enough with whatever was going on and voted to curb these executive sessions. In 2018, some of these, for the most part, I'd say a lot of it was restored. So a vote went back to the people to amend that section. And the city has greater ability to have executive sessions now, and that passed narrowly. I think I want to say it was 52%, something short of 53%, back in 2018. So
were these 5 bullet points the wording of the ballot measure?
I'm not exactly sure if if it was line by line in there, it probably was.
It would have had to have been in order to
Yeah,
amend
I
the
mean,
charter.
It very much tracks with what state law says right now, but it's not entire.
Okay.
Right now, so
What is missing from state law?
So one of the things, like when I'm looking at it as the attorney, I'll give you kind of my real life example of where it's challenging a lot of times. So in order to convene an executive session, to talk about a claim that the city receives, I have to wait according to our charter until it's actually filed, till it's actually in court. So just for purposes of understanding my role, the city we receive claims. We're required claims from citizens, sometimes non-citizens, but essentially claims from folks saying that any number of things, but mostly it's, we broke something. It's your fault. You need to pay for it. We injured someone. It could be any number of things. I mean, we've got a police, we've got public works, they're doing, who knows what they're doing. But we receive a lot of claims. Those claims come to me and I make an evaluation as to whether or not the city is at fault. And I make an evaluation as to, is there a defense to this? Does it make sense to deny this claim? So anyone who's gonna sue the city, you have to file a claim first. And I take a look at it and I'm like, okay, pay that claim, don't pay that claim, deny that claim. And, I explain that to whoever it is, like, yeah, we're not going to pay the claim because of A, B, and C.
Is this a plain form or is this a lawsuit?
Not a lawsuit until they actually file it in court. So that's one of the challenges with how it's written right now, is that I can't have a conversation as a body with city council about, hey, we've got this trip and fall. We've got this thing happened on Main Street, and I think the city may have some liability for it because of the condition of Main Street or the sidewalk or this project we were working. I can have those conversations, but I have to do them with no more than 2 council members, because once you get 3, it's now an open meeting, or it's now a public meeting. So I have to do 2 by 2 by 2, and having these sorts of discussions. That isn't super efficient, and not only the, efficiency aside, I mean, I'm paid to be here all day, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I think it's probably helpful as a body if everyone kind of hear the thoughts that everyone else has when forming, you know, a direction to give me. And I do call it a direction, you know, a lot of times I don't bring a lot of these claims to city council's attention because they're low dollar. They probably don't want me to say, hey, we ran over someone's sprinkler system, you know, and we need to replace like 3 sprinkler heads. They don't care about that. I hope they don't, because that's crazy. And so I just go ahead and handle that, certain things like that. So I would say probably that's probably the bigger one that I look at, just that ability to talk with them about, things that are not yet in the courts. My goal would be to stop things before they actually get there. And it's great to get consensus, before that happens, so.
Good, Scott.
So Reed, how many legitimate claims do you get a year since you've been here 6.5 years?
Legitimate?
Yeah, I mean, that are gonna be going to the council. Just a, you know, a general number.
Oh, we get claims every month. We don't get sued a ton, which is good. But in a month, I don't know, we probably get 30, 40 claims.
Is that
No,
right?
not in a month, probably over the course of a year, 50 claims.
50.
Seems about right.
Okay, 4 a month.
All of them are large amounts.
No, most
No,
of
no,
them
no,
are
no.
not.
No, I mean, you know, our police do something, they break someone's door, you know, effectuating a warrant arrest or something like that. I mean, there's lots of things where
Snowplow knocks over a
snowplow
mailbox.
knocks over mailboxes, we run over irrigation, public works damages properties, I mean, things like that. People,
5,000 or less
So about 4 a month.
easily.
yeah, at least, yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
Carol?
Do you have a dollar limit that you are able to settle without going to the council?
I think they established one, a number of years ago.
They did.
And I want to say it was somewhere around 300,000. I get that information from Tiffany, who was no longer here, but she just told me like, no, council has. And I will tell you, I'm not settling claims for 300,000 or anywhere close to that. But that's not the city council. That's crazy because the way that, not to, well, it's fine. So the city carries every year in our budget, I'm not gonna call it a slush fund, that's not right, but we carry money in a fund.
Discretion.
A risk fund.
So that's, I mean, it's our property and liability fund. And that property and liability fund is it can be used to settle claims that come in against the city. It also is used to help offset some of the additional health insurance things that can come up, that were over on workers' comp and stuff. And so the fund can be used for a variety of reasons, but I'm very thoughtful that our council does not want me throwing money away. And I am pretty fiscally conservative when it comes to settling certain claims, but I don't know if there's an exact amount in which I would say, I really should let council know about this. Kind of depends on the situation.
And that's why I asked the question that it sounds like you get a lot of claims, but not suits. So you're able to operate just fine with the language that's here.
Sure.
And then when something's filed in court, you have the ability to go into exec session.
Correct. I mean,
I just want to understand.
I mean, so I use that as an example. It would probably be better if I was able to have a more open discussion about claims, but the majority of the claims aren't huge claims. We do have really big claims. So, as you all are aware, we've had some unfortunate police shootings. When you have a police shooting, I don't know, the last case that I got dismissed, they were asking for $30 million. That's not good.
But that's a suit, so you could meet.
Yeah, but it takes 6 months before we even get to the suit, before they actually file anything, at
That's
least
the
6.
information we need.
Sometimes it's years before they actually file the suit. And during that time, I mean,
You're guessing, or like you
Well,
can not
I
have those
mean,
conversations.
if this was something, and, that case specifically, um, this was, it was back in 2017. They didn't file it until 2019, but in that particular case, police responded to, a shooting and carjacking at the Dunkin' Donuts on Mineral. And the vehicle, sped up Mineral going eastbound, started going down Santa Fe, northbound into Inglewood, Denver, going over 100 miles per hour. Our police officer tried a number of times to do what's called a pit maneuver, which is where you're basically hitting the back end of a car and spinning it out to try to get them to stop. That did not work. Ultimately, our police officers, because the vehicle kept going and going towards police officers, had to fire shots. They ended up killing the passenger. And the driver of that vehicle was rendered a paraplegic. So damages, when you're talking about something, and essentially they filed this under 1983, I'm not gonna get involved with that, but essentially excessive force, that the police officers didn't need to do what they did in order to arrest the individuals. And so ultimately it got dismissed, but going into that, if had the fact situation been different, those sorts of discussions I would love to have with the council as a body prior to it actually making it into litigation. We've had a few other police shootings since then. Part of my job is to review those shootings. We send them to an independent verification through Arapahoe County called our CRIT team, which is compromised by the Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office, a variety of local law enforcement that's not affiliated with the city of Littleton. Goes over all those incidents to make sure that they call it a clean shoot, but that the police officers were justified in doing whatever it is that they ended up doing. Most of the time, it's firing a weapon and discharging a weapon, of course, of that. So those types of claims make me nervous, just because it's a ton of money.
I'm just trying to understand the process.
And I'm
The difference
trying to-
between a suit and a claim, and you're saying that someone files suit and there could be months before it becomes a claim, or excuse me, the reverse. They file the claim months before they file the suit, and you.
Or years.
Or years, so you want to be talking to the council about that claim before it becomes a suit.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's the only place we really differ from state, that we have this extra restriction.
Well, I think that would be a great parking lot question where we can just, hey, what is the state statute when it comes to this kind of stuff? And we can compare it. And then if something were to make sense, we can evaluate it.
So I think we should.
I have a question and then a couple of other comments. One is, do we get written notice of a claim before it's a suit?
You're required to, yes.
Okay, so we have that, and so what you'd like to do is.
I have that.
You would like to be able to discuss that with council. Put that in the parking lot? Okay. Second item, it talks about recording executive sessions. And what might be illuminating for some of the group is to understand how are the recordings protected, who gets to review them. And you don't have to necessarily answer that now. You can answer that in the future. And what's the consequences if the council goes into executive session and doesn't follow all of these guidelines? And you don't have to answer that question now either, but.
I can answer the question. So currently, what we will do when we go into an executive session is we have a handheld recorder.
Voice recorder.
Voice recorder. It's a digital recorder that
But it's not
Colleen,
being electronically recorded like this.
no, but get to that. So basically, we turn it on, we say, this, it's whatever it is, it's 7:05, we're calling this executive session pursuant to whatever the section is within the executive session that allows that. With me at this meeting and then we go through and we announce, who is actually there and we'll go through and then we'll have that meeting. We will then turn off that recording once the meeting is concluded. We will then give that to our custodian of records, which would be Colleen. No one is listening to that document. The whole purpose of having it is if someone wanted, and assuming someone would be, someone challenges the city saying that you guys convened an executive session and you didn't comply with state law, you talked about something completely different or in violation of the executive session, they filed this in the court. The court would then get a copy of that executive session materials and they would review it and make a determination whether or not the city was in compliance with the executives. So in terms of what the penalty would be for not complying with the executive session, when it's embarrassing. That's probably the biggest penalty. In terms of if there was a quote unquote decision made in an executive session, they would actually the decision would be voided. So they would then have to have a meeting in a normal, regular meeting, special meeting, and whatever action it is that they allegedly took, they would actually have to have that on public record.
The judges can make the executive session record public if they was found to be in violation.
They could. I've never seen it.
And we can talk about retention too. Generally, it's 90 days after that executive session. That recording is held and then it can be destroyed.
That's not very long. Here.
Well, according to ours. It's different.
It says until,
No, it says.
Says they're no longer
longer in office.
so that could be as short as 2 years.
Yeah, but it's,
Even with term limits, I mean, if you have the same city council alternating term limits, I mean, it could be 2 years, it could be.
well, that's how ours is different.
Right.
State.
Right.
State is 90 days.
Oh, state is 90 days.
90 days.
Oh, I see. State is 90 days, ours is
That's
longer.
conceded.
Got it, okay.
That's gonna be my question. So you destroy it after all the people on that tape are no longer on council. It doesn't become
Yeah,
public.
but has not happened yet.
Okay,
Not in my tenure.
well, we need to keep moving. 2 minutes. Can you please put more parking lot questions or bring other questions? So,
I want to respond to this.
yes,
My assumption from your discussion, some amendments to be made this as recommended by you, staff, is what we're really about. If there is anything. Would that be a
Yeah,
true?
and to the point of what does it mean by particular reporting?
Okay.
For me, one of the challenges with having a state law provision within our city charter is, as we know, the law changes. And they add little nuances because, hey, back in the day, we didn't have digital recordings. We didn't have the ability to record by this. So if I were gonna make a recommendation, it would be just to follow state law, that executive sessions are allowed pursuant to whatever the section.
Whatever they turn out to be, if it gets changed at the state level in the future.
Perfect. There we go. Or if it gets more restrictive. And
Okay.
maybe the state says, yeah, whoa, the days of this are gone, then let's not need to have to go back to our voters to try to comply with whatever state law is telling us. So just reference that and we'll be good.
And I want to bring up something and we can park it. It
Yes.
relates to open meetings at the level of boards and commissions. I know that's not what we're talking about in this session, so we can talk about it later. Because I've served as the chair of the planning commission and the chair of the mobility board, transportation mobility board. And these are, well, the planning commission is legislative authority.
what is it, quasi?
Quasi-judicial. All the, like the Transportation Mobility Board is just advisory. It's what we are also.
Yes.
We're advisory. The important thing when serving on some of these advisory boards or commissions
is you have to know who the people are that you're with. And there's a great deal of discouragement on telephone numbers, email addresses, or anything, so that you can communicate, not about what you're dealing with, talking about some transportation mobility issue. So that's what I want to have a conversation about in the future.
But that has less to do with open meetings law and more to do with internal policy.
And we can talk about that.
FYI.
You have to put it in the parking lot, just to kind of clarify what are some of those nuances and differences.
Thank you very much.
Again, that wouldn't impact our charter. That is not a charter issue.
Not, well,
It may not,
And should not be.
it
a
may
charter
not be,
issue.
but I'm just saying it constrains.
And I understand that, but for purposes of what this was
Okay.
convened for, I mean, I think that's a conversation we can have, but that's really a policy issue and not a charter issue.
I understand what you're saying.
I
And
understand.
I don't disagree with you both.
Okay.
Parking lot issue, the council has 3 different kinds of meetings, and I think the third meeting should be defined in the charter as well. I'd like to
Special
specify that.
meetings, that's
Uh,
special.
No, study sessions.
Okay.
Where, I mean, they're a completely different animal. And having all 3 types of meetings defined in the charter would be a good thing for the public to know.
Let me think on that.
That's why it's a parking lot question. Tamsin. Yes.
I have a question about the quorum in the executive session. It seems like executive sessions are more important, arguably, than others. So it seems a little odd that the quorum would be only 5.
So that's because there are 7 members of council.
Right.
And so in order for them to adjourn to an executive session, they need to have a quorum plus 1.
Right,
So a quorum is 4,
right,
and
yeah.
so they have to have a quorum plus 1 in order to adjourn to an executive session.
It's actually a high
I
standard.
think my question though is why is it not 7? That's the question behind the 7.
Difficult.
Yeah, I think sometimes that could be difficult, right? A lot of times executive sessions are time sensitive. And if you have a council member who's on vacation
Yeah.
or otherwise,
And we,
you know, and that happens, right? Because yes, they're elected officials, but they're still human beings. They have lives and they
They
have
get the
families and they have
flu.
work and other things, right?
also, we can compare with state, whatever, I
So
assume it
it's-
says +1.
Okay.
Because, and you know, you have to think too, that there are other municipalities where their board is 9 people, or 12 people, and so it's always gonna be
Plus
a
1.
quorum plus 1, so it's considered a super majority.
Okay,
John?
thank you.
Does the executive session ever have a lever that you could pull for someone that's not present but could be present on the phone?
Not allowed, it seems from this, yeah, okay.
Because remember, you're doing it with like a digital recorder, and so,
They could listen to that later.
yeah, it's kind of that face to face, knowing that who's there is there. Now we have done, I will tell you, we have done consultant, like for personnel issues.
Yeah.
Via Zoom or something.
Telephonic.
But council needs to be present.
Here,
Just add it to the parking lot, but I don't know who agrees to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal state laws or regulations, including but not limited to security. What would be some of the other examples included there? Cause I feel like the specific example of security, like, you know, domestic terrorism, I feel like that's few and far between and perhaps not widely applicable. So that just makes me wonder what else, what is the not limited to?
So there's unfortunately shootings of elected officials, so it's very relevant. Once a year, we have go into executive session for security briefing council.
So just a briefing on protocol,
Advice, briefing, all those kind of things, yep.
but it's not like with Evergreen and fresh in my mind. It's unlikely council is gonna convene because we've had a school shooting.
Right, not, right, it's their own security, yeah, correct.
any extra ones? Okay, Article 4. 30, or to 35, section 34 and 35.
Let me get there.
Yes, that's fine.
There we are.
Recall,
Okay.
procedures, implementation. My only question is the percentage. And is there a reason why it's 25?
What the state law says.
Well, and ours differs a little bit from state law. It's still 25%. But ours says of registered voters in the last municipal election, and state law, I believe, says those who voted. So there's the difference, right? We're saying 25% of the registered voters maybe in a specific district.
Got it.
And state law says the number of registered voters who voted in the last. So your percentage is going to be very different. Because we all know that we don't get 100% turnout
Right.
at the polls. And so this is an area that I personally, well, this is something that is required for us to have in the charter. We have to define a process for recall in our charter. It could be as simple as deferring to statute. And again, for the reasons that we've heard at our last meeting and this meeting, statute changes. And
When it says registered voters in the last general,
would be an odd year election.
but it's referring not to the individuals that voted, but the number. Yeah. That seems a little.
Yeah, because if I understand correctly.
But that's why ours differs from
differs from-
state.
Yeah,
This has the total number, and
Okay,
then
got it.
state says only those who actually cast a vote.
Okay.
And so your
No,
number
no.
could be
reverse.
reversed.
Reverse, yeah,
Could
okay,
be very different,
Right.
right?
so
Which puts our numbers for recall very low.
could we look into the participation of our citizens? I mean, we don't get 100%, is there like
That's
a,
a little hard to do.
okay,
Because voter statistics, unless reports are run right after an election, and they are to a level.
sure,
Voter statistics aren't static, they are in the moment. And so they are based on, numbers as of a certain day.
could we look into like 2024 versus this year, for example?
I would have to reach out to the counties and see what they have, because if they didn't run reports based on districts,
Sure,
we may not have that information available.
that's fair.
So are you saying that the way the language is here, it makes it difficult for you to find out what that number was?
Yeah, unless and because during my tenure, we haven't had recall come up until recently. And so one of my new processes that will happen after an election is to reach out to the counties once the election is certified, which doesn't happen until quite a bit after the election.
December.
And ask for those.
2 weeks.
Yep, ask for those numbers. How many people voted in District 4? How many people voted in District 1, District 2, District 3? So that we have those numbers, just in case.
And that's
Um,
just a
Is
log that and say that's
That's,
in case for
well, yeah, yeah.
until the next cycle happens.
Mhm.
So ours is based on those that voted?
Yeah.
That's not what
It
it
wasn't super clear.
No, that-
No,
that's registered voters
Registered,
So just registered?
Yeah.
Okay.
in the last general
yeah,
municipal.
who were registered.
Not those
did
that
not
actually
vote.
voted.
Yeah,
Just registered. as-
So when you're, I think one of the challenges, maybe it's a real world challenge, is when you start, if you use those people who voted in the last election in that specific district, it can be a really small number, especially when maybe there's only one candidate. When there's only one candidate, like people are more like, not more likely.
turnout's gonna be very low.
Turnout would be lower than if, it's a contested election and there's maybe 3 people running for it. And so the number that you would actually need if you apply, quote unquote, the state version of it, could be like 200 people. I mean, we've had elections where, you know, the final number was 1,100, 1,200. I'm making up a number.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I-
low,
So if I
two
understand
hundred fifty signatures.
if I understand correctly, this fall, we're having an election. I'm in District 3, right? So let's say 100 people show up from District 3.
I hope more than 100.
I mean, I hope so too, but I'm just.
Add another 0.
Yeah, 1,000 people show up from District 3.
The designated election official, very sad.
1,000 people show up from District 3. Those are the registered electors in the last general, in
That would be,
this current one, right? So is that saying 250 people are required to recall? That's the bar? 250?
Not in Littleton. In Littleton, it would be the 5,000 people who registered to vote, not the
The
1,000.
state, it will be 250,
Yes.
if we follow state.
In Littleton, it would be 25% of 5,000.
All of the.
Right,
Obviously, but we're talking.
In that district.
We're talking about
Yeah.
much larger numbers, so
And so-
25% of 100,000 people who voted that's a lot of signatures you actually still don't get, but when you start trying to apply that to a smaller jurisdiction like the city, especially when we're divided into districts.
and so do we want to keep it at this threshold or do we want to align with state statute? Again, we have to have something in our charter
Sure.
about recall and about the procedure, but we don't necessarily have to have a number. We could defer to statute. And so that's something that we certainly have a conversation about.
What is it for, is this consistent with the 5% for an ordinance and the 15%? So it's not consistent.
No, and so there was, and John's in the room, so in 23, we had a citizen initiated ballot to change our threshold in the charter for initiative and referendum to match state, and it failed. And there are different reasons for that. There's an argument that it shouldn't be extremely easy to get something on the ballot, right? Like it should be well thought out and intentioned. And that there should be a representation that this is the one versus kind of that lower threshold. That may be why it failed. I don't know.
What's the other argument? And there might be several arguments for it, which I understand.
I mean, I think,
Isn't part of it, like, it would have decreased the amount of people needed to certify it or to call for a special election?
mhm.
It's quite costly.
It's very costly. And so, again, our charter differs, and we're not there yet, but our charter differs from statute.
One area that we rely on state statute is Article XX for an amendment to our charter, which is based on voters and not registered. So that's a lower bar than getting an ordinance.
Potentially, and it depends. So when you're looking at citizen initiated things that are not charter amendments, so we're talking about code amendments at that point. Those numbers differ depending on whether it's going to go to a general regular election or whether it's going to go to a special election.
It's 15 versus 5 or something like
Yeah.
that.
There's also difference in timing, how long people have to collect signatures. I mean, that makes a big difference. Some are six months.
Yeah.
So the one area where we currently don't have anything in our charter is how to amend our charter, where that's the one area we rely on state statute,
Mhm.
which is actually a lower bar than getting an ordinance. Okay.
And I'm okay not adopting anything in here on how to amend the charter.
Yeah.
The statute covers that.
I'd like to prohibit amending the charter.
I mean, so in elections, there is a lot of stuff in Title I and Title 31 about citizen initiatives, referendums, charter amendments, and if we try to address every single thing in here that we are not required to do, we could end up over time with, in my opinion, an overburdened charter that is not, that we're not able to support without potentially violating statutes.
Statute.
And so with initiative and referendum, And we'll get there. You know, I'm gonna be advocating for a lot of things that are election-based to align with state statute. For the purpose that when statute changes, we're not out of compliance. And while we can be more restrictive,
Can
there
be
isn't,
more permissive.
there isn't always an argument for it other than because we can.
But to be clear, and I know this is 46, currently, if I wanted to change the law and I had to go get petitions to get something on the ballot, and I'm looking at going the ordinance route or an amendment to our charter, which seems way more extreme, it would
Well,
require.
because the charter requires a vote of the people.
Yes.
Always. If it's a code amendment,
City council could approve it
they
without.
could, yes, without it ever going to the
But
ballot.
if I had those two avenues, I actually need less signatures for the amendment than I do for the ordinance change.
I thought you just said ordinance, the council could just do ordinance. Did I
They
miss-
can.
They can. What we're saying is that if he wants to do a citizen initiative, there's less signatures that he has to collect. It's a higher bar because he has to convince more people in a voting, in the
Always.
ballot box. But for
You don't get more.
ordinance, he has to do more signatures.
To get it there in the.
Yeah, to get it there in the first place, the
I'm sorry.
process to pass it.
I think
Phil,
we're getting
thank-
way ahead of ourselves.
And Phil and Carrie.
Yeah, we're just way ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
At this point in time, just also to remember, and it's a note out there, we are a home rule city, so we don't have to follow state statute.
Unless it's, what's it called? Unless of a statewide concern.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Unless the governor passes a bunch of crazy land use bills and.
So we have lots of ideas.
So we can part this, Colleen, but my question was, so bringing it back to the original topic, which was
Recall.
recall for an elected official.
Yes.
My question to you, based on your expertise, if the percent were to change, as we've been discussing, in your mind, would that change the process at all? Or would the process remain, it's literally just.
Process remains exactly the same. We're
And are you
basic-
comfortable with that?
Huh?
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not concerned with the process, okay? The process doesn't change, right? We're talking about aligning that number so that it's equitable.
Last one.
Real
For
quick.
now.
So the 25%, is that a different number for, let's say, I'm gonna pick on District 3, because that's where I live. If we wanted to recall Councilman Reichart,
In District
excuse me, 2, I live in 2. I'm right on the border.
Did you
Literally my
did
street.
you get impacted by redistricting?
No,
Okay.
it's just confusing, because literally my neighbors across the street are the. So are the numbers different if we want to recall Reichart versus like an at-large or the
Yes.
mayor? Okay,
Yes.
that was not exactly clear.
Yeah, and I think it says in there,
The area in which he or she represents.
so the at-large would be all electors
Okay,
and then district specific.
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Any other parking lot questions?
And so I have this on the parking lot and I'll flesh it out a little bit. But I think this is gonna be a bigger discussion when we get to part 2
I-
of our.
I have, it's hopefully a short question. So you mentioned like lower turnout in unopposed elections. So the state law of 25% of actual voters ballots cast, is that all ballots cast within the area or is it on that election? So like, let's say,
On that election
item.
or that seat.
so if 2,000 people vote for mayor, but only 500 people vote for District 3, then it's 500, not 2,000, even though there were 2,000 voters who participated. So we
Correct.
chose not to.
Again, it goes back to the area that they represent.
Right.
So a mayoral would be all electors because everyone in the city votes.
No, I'm saying like within District 3, 2,000 District 3 voters voted for mayor, but only 500 of them voted for the person who was running unopposed.
It was a short ballot. It's like they just chose not to vote on that item, but they actually turned in a ballot for that district.
It's who voted.
They voted, they cast a
But,
ballot.
but.
They didn't vote for District 3. They
Right.
voted on other items, but they didn't vote on District 3.
Votes don't count.
And it goes just for that item, not for that district.
Because they have no way to track a number for
For
undervotes.
every specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, they would individual ballots, but hey, Dan,
Only votes cast.
that's it. And so an undervote isn't going to be captured
That's part of
that
the vote.
somebody did not vote for a district.
Hey,
It's not gonna be captured.
That would
And
be a
overall number of undervotes would be captured, but not by district.
I've peaked Mike Junt.
Yeah.
He's.
alrighty, any other parking lot questions regarding Article 4? Yes.
There does not any is required for collecting signatures, so that can they,
That's-
there's nothing.
And so I would want to reference
60.
our code, which does cover days to collect for the referendum.
Okay, if this is a recall, well, then just put it in the parking lot.
Right, but I think that that's something we can add because in my opinion, our election section in our code is woefully undefined. And I think that is, we have a legitimate referendum, we could add recall as another section for number 3. Well, you see, because
Yeah, put it in parking lot because we have days mentioned for the others.
Right.
Section 30, Yes,
I
Ken.
want to cut off.
this is the last one. We need to move on.
Well, we're still in Article 4.
That's correct.
There's been no discussion about number 35.
I was about to call it for 35.
Pardon me?
I was about to say,
Oh.
do we have any questions for 35?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's I thought that we were doing away or
Well,
wanted
there's
to
a-
do away with the
there-
election commission.
Potentially. I mean, there's going to be a recommendation, because it's a board that really doesn't meet. And when when the charter was first enacted, again, the city was doing its own elections. There was a purpose for an election commission. Most municipalities who now coordinate their elections don't have election commissions because there's very little for them to do. One of their major accomplishments in the last, in my tenure has been redistricting. But we redistrict once every 10 years. So do we keep a board around that really only has a purpose once every 10 years? Or do we convene something similar to this for that purpose? And so
Because
that's
everything is logistically run through RAPO.
correct. When we coordinate with them, everything is done through them. And Jefferson and Denver, yes.
So really, your recommendation then is that the election commission is abolished within the context of the review of the charter, right?
Which means that if that happens,
This will not be
section
necessary.
35 would be repealed.
Is there any foreseeable scenario where we would stop coordinating and start doing the elections ourselves again? Or leave a contingency in place for that?
Bite your tongue.
Fully
It's very expensive to run an election as a standalone. For example, when we ran the special election in 23, I had estimated 165,000. We came in at just under 150,000. And our share of this upcoming election with Arapahoe County is about 12,000.
Just the main-
So it's substantially more expensive
All right.
to run a standalone election. I think it also adds to voter confusion, in my opinion, because you're running at a different time. Or even if you're running it in conjunction with, people get 2 ballots and they're like, why do I have 2 ballots?
Okay.
And one may or may not get voted. It's just easier when everything's on one ballot.
So you're saying KISS, keep it simple, stupid?
I would not, never call you stupid.
Or kissing.
I would never call you stupid. I'm saying if it ain't broke.
If we were to have a special election and have the county run it for us, would it be more expensive for them to do a special
No.
election? Or,
It's more expensive for us, and I'll tell you why. Because we have to go out and find vendors to design our ballot, print our ballot, mail our ballot. We have to rent machines to count ballots. We have to hire election judges separate. Arapahoe County has all that.
good,
right? They have their own, in-house printing and vendor printing. They have election judges on call. They have all the equipment. They have the boxes. We don't have to rent, use of their 24-hour boxes and things like that. And so while it would be more expensive for them to run a special election than our coordinated cost, it would still be far less than the almost $150,000 to run a special election. And costs are going up because during COVID, we lost some paper printers who printed the special ballot paper, and there are only a few now that do it. And so it's gotten very expensive. Some of those other vendors have gone on to manufacturing like corrugated boxes and things because it was just hard for them to sustain. And so we have a smaller pool of vendors, which, you know, we did a special election back in 2015, 2016. It seems like every 7 to 8 years, we do one. And I believe the overall cost on that one was about $55,000.
Wow.
For the same thing we ran in 23 at almost $150,000. So
It's costing. With that said, I mean, the county's not gonna, they're not lining up to do a special.
they're not, and I mean. they
Sometimes it
will.
is what it is.
They will, and the reason that we ended up running the one in 23 ourselves, after I asked the county if they could do it, they had several special districts that they were already running. So they were at capacity. Right?
I have a question though.
Yes.
So does the election commission manage or do any coordination for special elections?
They actually oversee hiring of election judges
Okay.
for that. But that's because election judges had to be hired for all elections that were run under Title 31 when we were doing standalone elections. Yeah.
So I'm in here, but election commission is established in Article 2, Section 11.
That's correct. We
Is
have.
there a proposal to eliminate
Yes.
that?
That was.
It's on the parking lot.
It's on the parking lot. Okay, great. Thank
Yeah, I said I was going to advocate strongly for that.
Remember thought that the only issue from this on the parking lot is that if it were to be abolished, that number 35 would go away.
It would be repealed, yes.
Okay. Let's move to new business. Article 5. Okay, section 36. Ordinance, resolutions, and motions, parking lot questions only for now. We do have to expedite a little bit. Yes, Tamsin.
Do we have definitions between ordinance, resolution, and motions?
In the Article 1,
Under definitions,
there are no definitions of sources.
then we can add them.
Yes. Ordinance, resolution, and motion. How to add definitions, you know, what would be,
I can add definitions. Yeah.
any other pertinent questions for that?
And I would just clarify that they can only do ordinance, resolution, or motion at a regular or special meeting.
Okay, so you're saying,
They can't take action at a study session.
fair enough, so to,
The council shall act only by ordinance, resolution, or motion at any regular or special meeting.
it's like an addition, that's what you're saying, like,
Yeah.
it could be an addition once we circle back.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
What about proclamations? We do proclamations.
They don't take, that's not taking action. It's something I put in front of the mayor.
All right, section 37, voting. This is voting for the city council.
Yes, this is the action that they take on ordinances, resolutions, and motions.
Okay, any questions? Billy?
So it says every member when present must vote. I mean, I guess I know the
There
other,
is no opportunity for them to recuse themselves.
right, or abstain or vote present. I mean, I guess, is there any reason they would need to do that? Has that been a issue in the past?
That comes up more with boards than it does with council. And I think that comes out of, if I wasn't at, it comes, into play most often with approval of minutes. I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm gonna abstain from voting on the minutes. But because our meetings are recorded, because we do action minutes, which is a motion and a vote, you know, I mean, who can say what the city fathers at the time when they enacted this, what their reasoning was?
And I guess,
But it really hasn't been an issue with council
sure.
to abstain. If they're there, they vote.
And Colleen, just one
Yeah.
comment. Someone can accuse themselves if they have a personal
They
financial.
can recuse if they have a financial interest, yes. But that's usually discussed beforehand and then they step away from the dais and they leave the room until that discussion is done.
Look like you have a story.
No, I mean, in my time as an attorney, I have seen whether it's board members, commissioners, or council members that have not wanted to vote on certain things because it would, I don't know. I didn't like the position they were put in, but the conversation has always been, that's too bad.
All right.
If you're not happy with it, vote it down.
Josh?
I have a question about the second half of section 37. Is obviously all just state law. So why is it in our charter and not just say we refer to state statute?
So that second piece, are you talking about the first CRS?
Yeah.
So that was actually changed based on, and that I believe, that was a
It's a citizen charter amendment.
Citizen charter amendment, that had to do with zoning that now requires a supermajority, which is 5 instead of 4.
But isn't that state law that CRS, or were we not obligated to follow state law?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're still not obligated if that were not in there, that it could be done by a simple majority.
So I had another question, about the recusal, you know, when his or her personal or financial interest is involved. So who determines whether they need to recuse themselves? Is that
Themselves.
voluntary? I've heard some rumors, there's been some problems with that in
I will have
politicians.
conversations with council members that, you know, we'll talk about whatever their relationship is with, you know, one of the parties. Perhaps they know whoever it is, whoever the applicant is. That comes up a lot for a lot of our boards and commissions, like, hey, I happen to know this person.
Yeah.
And they go to my church or wherever, and that's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to have one, you can't have a financial interest in
Right.
whether or not
That's
they get it or
right.
not. You know, the fact that they may be mad at you, too bad. I mean, you can't be related to the person. That's gonna be reasons that you should be recusing oneself. But as long as you have the ability as a board member, commissioner, whoever it is, council member, to be impartial and not take into account whatever relationship you have with this person, you should be fine to
Yeah,
hear the matter.
I understand what honest, forthright people should do. I'm saying if they choose not to do that, is there any enforcement mechanism? Can you overrule them? Can other council members vote? Is there a punishment if they don't do it?
Recall.
And I get a recall.
And Billy, to your point, how would we know,
Well,
right? We may not know that there's.
not in the city of Littleton. But I have had to have a very frank conversation with an individual who I believed, even though it's not necessarily for me to make a determination, but they had a very real interest in the outcome of what was being decided, and they did not want to recuse themselves, and I would say I
That
was
was in
very
another
persuasive.
Yes,
It was in a different group, we'll call it Arvada. If it was in Arvada.
Sounds just like that.
Okay, yes, Cam?
You know, all of this discussion is about private property rezonings prepared by the owner wanting to rezone property.
I think it says any zone.
Our discussion. It's all been related to private property. and somebody wanting to change and do a rezoning of property. What about city initiated rezonings?
I think if I read this correctly, it says any zoning change, meaning if the city wants to do a zoning change, they have to have 5 out of 7. Is that correct?
Thirds.
Two-thirds.
I mean, we're dealing with that right now today.
Sure, in
The
our.
whole thing that occurred on the 7th of January, 2025 was a city initiated rezoning of all residential.
Not a rezoning.
Text amendment, but yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So that would,
I don't
mean,
care whether it was a text amendment, it was all the property that was zoned residential, right?
But it was not a zoning change.
Majority of it, you,
Pardon me?
a majority of it, correct.
so that would have required 5 out of 7.
And so then what,
But if
what
we're-
is your comment related to that and this section
Well,
or the parking lot?
yeah, that's a big concern. I mean, if the city goes and initiates a rezoning without notification,
Well, but that may not be a reality depending on what happens with the ballot questions.
So the city just passed an ordinance requiring notification for any comprehensive rezoning.
just recently,
Yes.
within the last 3 months, 2 weeks. Okay,
So that is at least present.
Would it be useful to change it from any zoning change to also include land use? Or would that make it too arduous?
That's what zoning is.
It's land use. It's-
so there's
So
a,
on January 7th, they would have had to have a 5-person majority to pass that ordinance.
Although it was being viewed as text amendments versus actual rezoning.
Has to be protest.
Or a
Yeah.
very perhaps unpopular view would be typically when one is rezoning, you are going from one zoning district to a different zoning district. That is a rezone. When someone is changing your actual zoning district, it's not technically, but I understand the arguments out there.
it concerns me.
Correct.
And
Concern.
I understand, just within the last 2 weeks, something has been changed about the notification.
That is correct.
You send that to us, or somebody send that to us?
The text of the notification.
The ordinance?
It's-
It's on the website as a legal notice right now.
Last week, city council.
Okay,
Ordinance
I
15.
haven't looked at it.
Ordinance 15.
Passed this past Tuesday.
It's
Past
passed on
Tuesday.
And it will become effective next Thursday.
I repress a lot of things in my job.
Okay, any 37 parking lot questions? Okay, when required. Oddly titled, but that's okay. Any questions on that?
I just want to be clear, and this is probably a Reed question. Placing any burden upon limiting the use of private property shall be by ordinance, is that a mandate or? Is that saying that if you made an amendment to put a limiting the use of private property, that going against our charter? I guess that's my question, is like, is that saying that that can only be done by ordinance?
So. I mean, it would be. I'm trying to see where you are, I'm sorry.
Under
Very-
section
very last of
five,
38.
Section 30.
Bottom line.
Under the last,
38.
yeah. Every act making an appropriation, authorizing borrowing money, levying tax, establishing any rule or regulation for the violations of which a penalty is imposed or placing any burden upon or limiting the use of private property shall be by ordinance.
Yeah, I'd say every. Josh, what is your concern with that?
So my question is that saying that
That
limiting
has
the
to be-
use of private property can only be by
It has
ordinance
to be a formal action.
and not an amendment to the charter, for instance?
Okay, but why would we want to amend the charter when we know that has to go to a vote of the people? I mean, that's what we're trying to get
Yeah.
to.
Because it's on the ballot in November.
Yeah.
So three A says we can only amend land use by charter amendment. This says we can only limit use of private property by ordinance. So those would seem to be in contradiction with
Yeah,
one another.
I'm not a lawyer, but I was just like,
I'm not either.
looking for clarity on what is our charter saying there? Is that a restriction or is that a restriction on council? Is that a restriction on the charter? Like, what is that saying?
The restriction on council, so anytime the council acts and we're doing anything encumbering stuff or posing penalties or making land use changes, it goes by way of ordinance.
So for council, these are requirements for
I
council.
would say that applies to council.
That's fair. So citizens.
But I like to-
Acts of the council.
Citizens can place an amendment that restricts your property rights on the charter, but council can only do that by ordinance.
So a citizen can go out and say, I want to make a law that says X, Y, Z, and if you violate it, it's $1,000 fine. And I can go make an amendment to our charter with that information.
You have to collect the signatures and pass it by the
Sure.
voters.
That's a lesser burden than getting an ordinance on the ballot, so.
I don't know about the penalty provision. I would say that's something that is solely within the administrative function of city council to make a decision on, but
And the
yes.
charter-
It's in the same sentence.
But the charter.
To the exact same sentence.
So we may want to circle back to.
Yeah, so a parking lot that.
Does a text change fall under that last sentence?
Yeah, go by way of ordinance.
All right. Section 39, form, another oddly titled one. Any questions on that one?
And what that means, Jose, is just form of the
Of
document,
the document.
that it should be,
typewritten
it should be.
Or printed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I don't have any questions.
Not handwritten notes.
Okay.
No carrier function.
Well, if you go back to the historic document, a lot of things were handwritten.
Okay, section 40, procedure for passage of ordinances. I assume this is first reading, second reading, votes,
Public hearing.
public hearing. Okay. Given that now there is notification for certain changes, the code will help this, correct?
But remember, not every ordinance has to do with. land
Yes,
use.
yes. I'm just talking about like those specific ones will be impacted by notification, but we're changing an ordinance for something that's not related to that, it'll still follow this process.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for the parking lot? I think we all are semi-familiar with the process of first reading, second reading, public comment, et cetera.
Should add a third reading.
Third reading, okay.
I want to see.
Section 4.
Recommend that.
I just had one quick one. So like, it refers to like published in full a couple times, which again, back, you know, pre-internet days, meant printing out paper copies. Does any of that need to be modernized now that, I mean, you can upload a 500-page PDF if you want.
We still do that. So we, and part of that is based on the first resolution of every year that council passes, which is where notices, public notices shall be made. And so it's on our website, it's at the municipal courthouse, it's at the library, and it's on the bulletin board at the front of the building here. And we still do that. Even if it's a lengthy ordinance, we still print the entire thing.
And post.
And we do post it, because there are people who still prefer to come in and read actual paper. There are some people who are not tech savvy and they don't want to go find it on our website. And so we still.
Post it there.
Yeah.
And it also,
An example would have been the ULUC change.
I'm sorry?
The ULUC changes
They were
were done
posted.
3 years ago. I mean, an example of something
Yes. Yeah.
multi-pages.
Yeah, we still provide.
The full
Yeah.
well, the full document on both readings, so, you know, the practice of, well, we're just gonna put the title here because we're
Well-
actually not having the public hearing until a couple of weeks. All we're doing is setting a public hearing. ULUC, so let's just.
And we do the full copy first and second reading because there could be changes between first and second reading, right? And so that's just one of the things we do to make sure that we're being transparent.
Section 41, emergency ordinances.
My only question on that is why is there a 7-day gap between passage and publishing?
It says
It's really more
within
9
7
days.
We
We publish on Thursdays.
So with,
Within,
I'm sorry,
It
Carol?
could be published.
is within 7 days.
Yeah, within 7 days.
Okay.
And so the public hearing, you mean, can't be within?
Well, no, the emergency ordinance was, it says once you pass the emergency ordinance. you
Oh,
have
so
7
you're down
days
to
publish it.
emergency.
Yes, we are
Yeah.
41.
Okay, so
Seems like an emergency would warrant.
Yeah,
That was destroyed in an earthquake.
Sooner.
it's within 7 days that we publish it,
Yeah.
but we actually publish either the very next day or at latest Thursday. So if it's passed on a Tuesday, it's published on Thursday. The only reason that there's a delay is sometimes it takes us a little bit to get it fully signed. We do everything via DocuSign now. So, and Reed will tell you, as things pass on the agenda, I am sending them via DocuSign to Reed while they are in the meeting. They are getting notifications while they're in the meeting
Exactly. Okay.
that they need to sign it.
I
And
like wet signatures better. Have folks have to drive around to people's
Yeah,
houses.
make Colleen go to everybody's house.
because I have so much.
Get 'em in.
I
So,
mean, that's what we had to do.
so
We have a folder.
those things are usually getting signed that night or very early the next morning.
Are you still required to publish in the local paper?
Not ordinances. No.
Yeah, it was just, with an emergency ordinance, I just was wondering if there was opportunity for abuse, if there was like this delay.
Well, this is within, so.
Well, within, but 7 days before I need to tell anybody what we just
The
did.
emergency ordinances
Yeah.
are reserved for very specific.
Preservation of public property, health, safety.
So like COVID related things would have been emergency ordinance.
Yeah.
The city had to do something.
Right, section 42, disposition. I think this just says it's relating to copy those documents.
How they're numbered and all of those things, yeah.
It was amended. Here's
And that could have just been,
language.
language,
People's ordinance, number 752.
What are we on now?
Section.
they start over every year.
Okay.
Voted by year.
Section 43, codification. Council shall cause the permanent ordinances to be codified within 1 year.
We do it quicker than that, our codification service. Back in the day, yeah, you had the binders, it's like that. Now with the online, we can actually update it a lot
And
quicker.
we can actually self-codify. I have access to go in and accept those changes, and upload a true copy of the ordinance as signed. So there is a double check there. If someone calls and says, hey, the ordinance you attached does not match what this says, we can go in and fix it. For more complicated ordinances, things that have a lot of tables, diagrams, things like that, I will send that to our codifier and they will have it up by the effective date.
And they're checking for just typos, errors, what?
No, they codify it as we give it to them. They do not correct Scrivener's errors. We can do that. We can also correct links. If a link isn't working or if it's taking you to an older part of the code that's been repealed, something like that, we can correct that as a Scrivener's error. But we can send it to them and say, this is the effective date. And they make sure it goes live at 12:01 on that date. So, prior to going to this service, we would have pending ordinances show on the first page of the code, and those pending ordinances could sit there for 6 months. before actually becoming part of the code.
Okay,
Could I put it on the parking lot to change that timeline? Or talk about changing that?
what do you mean?
Like, a year, it doesn't sound like there's a need for a year. And if like,
Where are you seeing that?
Oh, within 1 year.
Oh.
You're saying, will there be any effect if we set 30 days? Codify within 30 days, is that what?
yeah,
What
I
did-
mean, if Colleen isn't here and somebody's not as organized as she is, and it's going to take a year,
Sweet.
like,
I
I don't know.
I read the 1 year's like upon passing the charter, the very first codification has to take place within the, you know,
Yes,
nineteen
of
fifty-nine to
this
nineteen sixty.
charter.
So it doesn't take us a year in 2025.
No.
They had 1 year in
Everything
nineteen
after
fifty-nine.
that,
Right, but I'm wondering if because it's 2025,
I think that just defines back to the very beginning
I see.
of the charter.
Okay.
I don't know that we buy anything by making a recommendation
Okay.
to remove that.
Great.
Because now it just says, shall be supplemented with permanent ordinances. And how we do that in our timeline is actually really short. So,
All right. Section 44, codes published. Any parking lot questions? Seems like, yes, Dan.
Before we go on to Article 6,
Yes.
I'm assuming no one wants codes published.
Doesn't seem like it.
I would love kind of, you know, if we're gonna learn from history, going back to Josh's point on section 38, I've read that like 12 times. And it is circular, it's strange. And I'd like to know like the history of what happened in the election of November 3rd, 2015, because it's in this section, both in 36, in 38, and in 41, where things were amended. When you go back to this lovely stuff we got, the former group of us never made any of these recommendations.
well, but some of those could have been general throughout the charter, how council is referred to.
Oh,
Because there was a ballot question that passed that changed some general verbiage.
the fact that it was amended just could be a word in there.
Yes,
I
it
see.
was amended throughout the charter.
So when I'm seeing that the election of 11/3/2015, that may not have put this
Well,
weird circular.
it didn't put it there, but it may have changed a
Something
word.
in there.
Yes, a word or a
No,
word.
yeah.
And there was a massive catch-all
Yes,
one in
yes,
there,
that
right?
changed like president of the council to mayor and changed, just how things were referred to make it.
Well, then I would just say if we could have more of story on section 38, it is, in all everything we've read, it is a very strange wording. It's circular. It actually seems to, it's because it says by ordinance, and then it says shall be by ordinance, but already says that.
Yeah, so I've got it in the parking lot
Okay.
and I will
Let's
ask.
know the history and story of
Well,
that.
the history may not be available because this may go back to,
1950.
yeah, it was amended in 69, so I can certainly see what I can find from 69.
That's okay, we can figure it out.
And then Reed and I will try and draft.
Or it's fine if you just come out with a clarity of what it says.
That's something that I'll have to.
How we interpret it
I mean,
today.
I think, to me, it like, it seems to nullify a whole lot of other things, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
note taken, thank you.
Article 6, initiative and referendum. Let's do it. Section 45, initiative.
So we do need to define in our charter, processes for initiative and referendum. That could be, however, as defined in Littleton City Code. And I don't even know if I would reference the section because code sections change, right? And so I just think that this is very prescriptive.
Yeah.
And if statute changes that allows for more leniency or more stringent adoption, where we're saying at least 90 days before any general election, if state statute changes to allow for 120 days or 60 days, right? Like, how do we hold you to? Cheryl, you're familiar with this process. Has this been a
This-
hindrance?
This is a mess.
Yes.
And
And
I will go back to read something from 2007,
Mhm.
where the city attorney said that the city charter sections 45 through 47 have to be read together in order to understand them.
Uh-huh.
The sections were less than artfully drafted. They were inconsistent and raised a lot of questions. And amen to that.
Yes, I'm not gonna argue it at all.
No, you
Back-
were around in 2007.
Well, you were around, you just weren't here in
You
2007. And so that was during Walmart,
This was, yes, it was
Yes.
Walmart.
during Walmart. And so I
What's her name
think
was
that there is an opportunity in sections 45, 46, and 47 to clean this up. I will tell you that I have worked with an election consultant who actually works with CML now as kind of an advisor to the Colorado Municipal Clerks Association. She was secretary to Senate for a while and actually helped write Title 31, which is the municipal election code. And she has been telling me for years, and Reed, because she used to be his next door neighbor, to fix it. And so what I would like to do is put this in the parking lot and maybe come back with some recommendations of how we might achieve the same effect in a cleaner way while directing to our code, which would have the more administrative piece. I think when we start putting administrative function and process in the charter, it gets messy. And again, we've seen it, section 38, doesn't that look like that's going to be negated or impacted if this charter amendment passes, right? So we want to try and avoid those kinds of things if we can. And I think that this is a great opportunity. While we have to have something in here, it does not have to be this prescriptive.
Colleen, to summarize what you're saying is you're gonna come back with a recommendation to essentially accomplish what is in here.
45
That
through
is-
47.
But without all the prescriptions.
Yes, yes.
But the question is, do the numbers stand or they don't?
That's part of
It's
it.
part of it.
Okay, so sections 45 to 47, we clearly needed to be cleaned up since 2007.
Actually, probably since adoption.
Right, so since 2007, we may have had to do some work.
Yes.
Our
Haven't
pre-
been elected or amended since 97.
Yeah, well, 2007, our previous charter commission did not, the charter review committee did not see a way to do it.
So we're gonna take it on.
So we are going to have to do it. Yes, Ken, a comment.
I just think it'd be great to have you come back with recommendations based upon all the research and the thought that you've had.
And that's the intent.
Yeah.
Initially, it'll be in the parking lot with some recommendations, so it may not be at the next meeting.
No,
It's something we can flesh out and have a deeper conversation.
Perfect. So 45 to 47, we'll wait on how to clean it up because clearly we have a recommendation of 2007 by the city attorney.
And Colleen, if you shortened it and referenced code, would that give council more opportunity to amend code without having to change?
Yeah, because
ballots or-
code can be amended by ordinance.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so.
And so, or by citizens, they can submit.
Request, right.
And council can either adopt it as presented or send it to the voters. Right.
Wait a second, I would check that. Section 48
That's where I was
says
going.
anything that goes with an electoral vote, meaning it's gone out to the people, cannot be changed by council. You'd have to go back out to people.
Well, the council has the power to submit a proposal to
Another-
revise it, to repeal it, or amend it, but the only way that it actually gets effective
vote.
is through the vote.
And to answer your question, Phil, I think what Colleen's saying is if we amended this to say, here's the symbol of it, reference this code, that code can be changed. That's not locked in because you didn't vote on that code. You voted on the park charter.
There's a difference between 45 and 47 than 48.
Yeah.
48 is mistitled too.
That's right. That's true.
It is.
Yeah.
And it does miss and be on therefore.
Oh, look at you.
I don't know if that's a textual variant.
As Scribners, we can fix that.
That's fair enough.
Um,
Okay, section 48, any questions?
Yeah, this has never made sense to me about the last
Shall not
reference to
again.
the special election. So if you have a question submitted at a special election, it shall not again be submitted at a special election in 6 years. If there could be some understanding of what that language was.
What a federal election,
Well-
well, and again, I'd have to go back to see if I can find documents and discussions that were had, and I don't know what that is, but I can certainly
Yeah.
try and do some research on that language.
It may make sense, but it doesn't to me.
And because I think we have to be, we have to understand what a special election is, right? It can be a special election that is called, that is outside of a normal election cycle. But for the city of Littleton, because we conduct our regular elections in odd number years, if this was going on an even number year November election, that's still a special election for us. Versus one that's called off cycle, so there's some understanding about that. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
think it probably was designed to give the city some global,
Some breathing room.
Stability.
Have
Having
a
run
bunch
all
of
those
special
elections.
elections,
And so that might be something that we want to think about and revisit.
especially if it's the same question.
Mhm.
Like voter fatigue, you keep asking.
Same
It's
question.
like- It's like having a kid who wants to do something. They keep asking, eventually I'll just,
Well, you
Say
should have
fine.
two boys that goes together.
All right, Article 7, city manager.
So before,
Yes, Billy.
before we move on, I mean, can we just take like a 5 or 10 minute recess?
That's okay. If everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, I'd like to take a break. I mean, I need to use the restroom, but I don't want to miss any discussion. I assume other
I'm
people
gonna
have needs as
stop
well.
recording at 8:07 PM.
808.
8:08.
4 seconds.
8:07 when she said it.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess and reconvene. Yeah, reconvene. We can get through 7.
Think
We are reconvening at 8:16 and 11 seconds.
Bill 58.
Article 7, city manager, section 49, appointment and qualifications. Any questions for that?
Says you can-
Okay, section 50, absence. City manager shall designate immediately his or her appointment qualified city employee to perform his duties or her duties during his or her temporary absence or.
And that is
Ooh.
one
Deputy
of
city.
our 2 deputies,
Yes.
very able.
Any questions for that?
Mike, Reed and Colleen keep throwing out the things they've changed about their sections. What about you? You got any complaints, man?
We might come back around with some things here, but nothing to share really tonight, no.
Okay, all right. Section 51, removal, severance pay.
My only comment is that it's not very good severance pay.
Well, and we may come back to this in the future, but I will say that, we all operate, including the city manager, under an employment agreement, and the severance is different in that agreement.
Okay.
So,
Our interpretation is this provides a floor.
Yeah, like
Okay, okay.
That's the bare
I was
minimum.
seeing it as a cap.
this is you're walking in the
Go
lobby.
beyond that, but
Yeah, you're in the lobby waiting to push the elevator button.
Tamsin, to your point, very few people would apply for a position here if that was the restriction.
Is
our max.
Are we gonna come
Is
back?
there-
Not our charter, but our council has
What I'm
common
saying
sense.
is- And I read.
City manager doesn't establish their own.
Succinct what it says, and to deviate from it would be a violation of the charter. So if this is a floor, then it needs to be stated.
Right, you're saying that in your eyes, this is the charter, this is the charter, is a city constitution. And if you're reading it, that should be the limit.
And that's how it's operated for years. So if we're going to.
You put it in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's in the
That's
parking
different.
lot.
Let's change language and be clear about what it is we're.
How we're actually acting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not. And then we'll talk about it, but that section is really, probably doesn't belong in the charter.
At
It's
all.
more of a
Thing out.
contractual,
Yeah.
Yep.
so.
Because it's administrative.
Mhm,
That's fair.
mhm.
Powers and duties. Who we think is he or she will be too powerful? Powers and duties.
Does the city manager pick the police chief?
Yes.
Mhm.
In theory, I mean, in reality, we know there's stakeholders who obviously should be consulted, including the council members themselves. So usually, especially a police chief recruitment, you'll see a pretty significant city community involvement in screening and vetting.
But there isn't a vote for it.
No,
No.
the police chief is a direct report to the city manager.
The only people that aren't a direct report to the city manager, the city attorney and the judge.
Municipal judge.
So I have a question in F. It says, inform the public concerning plans and activities of the city administration. Not that we need to change that, but how is that presently done? What are the requirements to do that?
So, one that jumps to mind is the introduction to the budget every year. So the city manager does do the introduction to the budget. Then on every regular meeting, well, for that matter, every study session too, the city manager has the opportunity to provide a report, and that happens regularly as well. And then in theory, all of our city communication channels, from our television station to our Littleton reports to online as well as printed, all of those come through his authority.
That's what they are.
Yes.
Because even if they're coming from a direct report of his or another department, they're still coming from.
Okay.
Is in charge of that.
He would be accountable for those,
Yeah.
yes.
What's not in here is, but the council establishes it, is what's the city manager's financial authorization on the city requirements, so.
Oh, though. We
That's-
have a
that's-
Code, that's what I said,
It's not here.
it's not in the, as I said, it's not here in the charter, but there's, council has other oversight,
Yes,
not necessarily dictated here.
absolutely.
Any other parking lot questions for this area? Okay, Article 8. Boards and commissions. Yes, Bill.
So it specifies boards and commissions, obviously, but we also have a committee and an authority. Is there any reason or any problem not having those listed?
No, because it's still a body. Board commission is terminology. We do have the downtown development committee, but really the only purview council has with them is appointing members. They actually act as their own body, much like South Metro Housing Options. They get appointed by council, but they act as their own body. Committees are generally very short-term, time specific. And as far as other council bodies, we have no other authority other than the DDA, which is a separate entity that council really has no purview over other than appointment.
When it says that all members shall be subject to removal by the appointing authority, is that the person that, the council member that appoints them? Or-
Council appoints them as a group.
And to be fair, like Keely said, that she was appointed by an individual council member. She wasn't. She was nominated by an individual council member,
And
but appointed by the council.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have a question. It's the same thing that he just mentioned.
Okay.
It's that all members shall be subject to removal by the appointing authority, which is the council.
It would be council.
What are the criteria for removal?
So
Board, a commission, or authority?
part of that is.
Let me just finish. Because when I was on the planning commission, Doug Clark was the mayor. He removed 5 people from the planning committee.
And he did that against the charter.
That's why I'm asking the
yeah, we-
question, what are the requirements? What do you have to do in order to be removed?
What's the
So-
threshold?
So part of that.
Just by what he felt.
No, part of that is covered in your handbook. If, if you miss more than 3 meetings with no excuse. And it's not going to be them initiating it. I can tell you that right now. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a staff liaison reaching out, saying, I have, and this happened to me with a board several years ago. I won't mention the board or the person. Who from the dais was very disrespectful of staff, of myself and our deputy city attorney. And even though we had multiple meetings with this person and directed him what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate, continued to do it to the point where I walked out of a meeting late at night and I called the mayor at home. And I said, just watch the tape. And the mayor called that person, had a conversation, and told them that he was going to make the recommendation for removal, and the person resigned. But it really does have to be something that is egregious.
That's why I asked the question, because in this specific instance, it was their public opinion about something.
Yeah.
And it was 5 people that were summarily dismissed.
I have not seen that during my tenure.
I'm not saying it was,
No, I'm saying that I think that there is an avenue for us to, either as the recording secretary, so myself or the deputy city clerk, because we all quasi judicial boards and council, the staff liaison or the attorney that's assigned to that board. If there is an issue that can't be resolved through a cordial conversation. Sometimes people just don't know that they're violating our protocols and standards of conduct, right? But if they continue to do it, then we are going to report it to council, and then council will determine what action, if any, is appropriate.
Yeah, I was,
And we have removed a member or 2 publicly from the dais.
I was the chair at that time. These people were just removed because philosophically they had an opinion on something.
the times where I've done it, I've had the complaints or the issues been raised, it's ultimately been brought to my attention. I have advised council regarding whatever the issue was, and presumably that's led to an individual conversation with either the mayor or someone else calling that person and saying, can't have that, or that needs to change, or maybe we should part ways, and that's what
I
happens.
think the whole issue of egregious behavior,
It isn't, yeah, in my tenure here.
not just philosophical.
Right,
One
and, but
person
I'm sorry that was your experience. And those other board members, because that's not anything, that should happen.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I think looking at it from the council's perspective, boards and commissions serve at the pleasure of the council. So whatever reason council might have, but it should be the appointing authority. There shouldn't be a single individual on council to make that decision, whether it's the mayor or anyone else. It's the appointing authority. So it's council that should be making.
They may have, I don't remember exactly. All I know is that 5 members were dismissed.
But the boards and
I
commissions.
understand that.
Delegated.
So I fully understand. I serve at your pleasure.
But they are appointed publicly. They should be removed publicly or given the opportunity to resign, in my opinion.
Well, so it says removal by the appointing authority. The only appointing authority we have is city council.
Correct.
And so the only way for council to do something is by a majority vote, in theory, right?
In theory.
It's not explicitly stated, but it's
Right.
implied.
Correct.
Can we talk about severance for board members?
You got 6 months pay.
You're gonna have 5 years. pay.
I think you all should
Double
get
what you're
paid.
making now.
Okay, anything else? Okay.
Did we make it?
All right, so a few things. We do have a member of the public here and we do have,
We have, well,
You-
we had two.
we had two. We want to give them 2 minutes to express any opinions about this section.
Want to take a vote on that?
Yes, we will have to take a vote. That's what I'm
It's not
saying.
a vote, it's consensus. We're
Or
all in
consensus,
favor.
yes. Is that something that you would like to do?
You're gonna limit it to 2 minutes?
I have a timer. 3 minutes, like 3 minutes is the standard.
3 minutes.
3 minutes is the standard. If you would like to take,
I'm fine.
Wait, are we voting on whether that can happen?
consensus,
We're
yeah,
not
yeah, we're
voting.
saying.
It's a head nod or a thumbs up.
Okay with it?
My recommendation is not any comment on the public that's here now, but again, we are an advising board. I would rather we not have public commentary just because we could end up with 500 people here sometime and we're an advising board, so I would say that is something that we leave to council, but not in this
That's
chamber.
okay. I'm just want to give the courtesy to our member of the public here.
So you want to make that recommendation?
Well, no, he made the recommendation. I made an argument against it.
Yeah, that's correct. And you can just thumbs up, thumbs down if you agree with me or Dan. I think it's either way, but I just wanted to extend that courtesy. I think if we had 500 people, I would not.
Is this a permanent open invitation?
No,
I was like,
This
is
is
it-
just for
was that
this meeting. This is just for this meeting because we have time.
I would not like to set the precedent.
And that's okay if you don't like to sit.
Are we voting, putting our heads down and then?
So what do you want to do, a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Raise your hands if you agree.
Yeah,
with
raise your hand if you agree with me that you would like to allow members of the public to give some commentary. For this occasion, it's not for the future. Please continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 in favor. Against, same signal. That's okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Ms. Pam, if you would like to make a comment, you have 3 minutes.
After all that, she's gonna say no.
And please, this just let me get a timer. Clock. Timer. 3 minutes. Okay, pause it. And this is your time.
I'm Pam Champort and I live a block or two from here. I'm not sure though that this covers the sections that you considered tonight. I want to see 2 things. I want to see in 2015, the direct election of mayor was added and I want that taken out. It is very bad for Littleton. It monetized and politicized our elections immediately. We spend far more immediately in the next election and now there's far more money spent. There's more contention. What we had before, the original language was the presider of council, elected by the council members themselves, and they elected their presider. That is what Littleton fits best with and what I'd like to see back. So please consider that, and I'm not sure if that was there tonight or.
It wasn't, but.
And also, I just want to thank you all for your service. This is an interesting board to see. I would like to see public comment on the agenda. Sorry, but all the other boards and commissions do that as well. The chair does have the option, if there are too many, to say, well, the remaining folks have to be at the end of the meeting. Or what you did tonight was absolutely right. You can take a vote of folks and then just see if people are allowed to talk. So thanks for doing that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We do have some recap and reminders. As we have discussed, we were going to do a double meeting in the month of October.
Available dates.
If there were enough available dates.
We have the next meeting scheduled for October 16th. I know that that's going to be an issue for some people with school and things. I know Sarah's not going to be able to be here. But still, if we have as many members as possible, I think we can move forward. And then the recommended date for November would be November 13th. So it would be the second Thursday
Of November.
of November on the 13th. Otherwise, we're getting, the 20th isn't an option because there's another board that meets in this room that night and then. And I don't know about all of y'all, but I don't want to be in this room beginning with a turkey hangover.
Just to bring up on the second Thursday, Keely and I have arts and culture.
Okay.
We would not be able to. Okay, not that that should change the date, but I'm.
It should change it. We shouldn't conflict all meetings.
So it's gonna be the 13th of November?
Well, that's the recommendation. Otherwise, we're gonna be hard pressed to find a meeting date in November, which would push us into December if we wanted to take a month off, which is always an option.
Yeah,
I was gonna move to put the 13th as the
the
proposed.
tentative date.
Let's just take a vote.
Well,
Okay.
We just.
we don't vote.
But it's
I'm sorry,
Can you repeating the October date?
October 16th.
October 16th is the only date.
That's the only, okay, so
Yes,
October
because it
16th. and
conflicts with
November.
other things.
November 13th.
I also will.
I'm sorry?
Able to attend on October 16th.
And I'm out on the 16th. It's,
Yeah,
that's Littleton Public School break, so.
Fall break.
Who's here?
So the next meeting is the 16th.
Well, potentially, it seems we
Yeah,
have a
may
lot of
change.
people who.
Let's just kind of like have a logistical show of hands. Who will not be here on October 16th?
Look at my hand, Ken.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, who could not make it on November 13th?
16th.
So do we want to cancel October and
I-
meet in November?
Canceling is
I mean, that's,
not something that I would like, but I
we
mean.
may
it's-
have to
I mean,
find,
Is there a possibility of doing it on the 15th, the Wednesday?
I'd have to look.
yeah, would there be any other?
That's what I'm looking.
Okay, yeah.
So the 15th is gonna be a lot of parent-teacher conferences for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that week is difficult is what I'm
And the
hearing.
week after is break?
No, it's.
No, that week is break.
Yes, is October break.
16th, yeah, it's like a 3-day.
So,
The issue is, it's been known for some time that the 16th of October was a planned meeting,
Yes.
right?
yeah, but they can't control when LPS has their.
I'm just saying, a lot of us reserved that date 2 months ago,
Understood, and that's fair, and that's fair.
okay?
And that's fair, we would excuse all of these absences, we're just shopping around and seeing if there is another date that could work for anybody else. With the following week.
Well,
is
but-
is that a possibility?
Just one.
I planned vacation.
No, understood,
Yeah.
and I get it, we can keep it as is, and maybe what we can do is we can look into sending
Early.
very early, so that you have time to send as many parking lot questions as possible.
For those sections that we.
I
wanna cover.
believe we would be covering Article 9.
Well, that's it. How deep do we want to go?
I think that's the only one that we will be able to cover, because it's quite large and legally.
Okay,
Article 10 is finance administration, and that one is quite crucial for.
so I think we could do 9 with a tentative 10,
Okay,
to allow folks time to submit, to kind of review that, and anyone who can't make it in October. Because remember, we're advisory. We don't have to have a quorum to meet. It certainly makes sense to have the majority of us here.
If we put it on the agenda, like that we're gonna do 2 sections and we take up 3 hours for one section, we just stop. But if we, for whatever reason, we buzz through 9 in 30 minutes
Yeah,
flat,
that's why- that's-
we have to stop because we didn't put it on the
That's my
agenda.
recommendation, that we put at least a couple sections on.
yes.
And for those who can't be here in October, so what I would do is I would work with Jose and Phil to
Yeah.
maybe have that agenda out, not next week, but the week after, so we would have it out like the first week of October to give enough time for the members who can't be here on the 16th to submit questions, comments, concerns about different sections. in your stead for those members who are here and to open that discussion.
So,
Does that sound like an equitable
you know,
solution?
I'm fine
Seeing
with
some
that.
thumbs up.
I'm not gonna be here and I'm fine with that.
Okay.
okay, we will workshop an agenda and send it to you as early as possible.
And those of us that miss it, we can watch the recording.
That is correct. You can watch it, and you can send the questions.
Must see TV.
We could bring, and is it right that we could bring, if we saw something came up and we wanted to bring it up in the next meeting,
That's correct.
have the opportunity in old business to bring it up.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
We can even add an old business item for anything that's undefined. right?
Okay, perfect.
Because then that lets us go all the way back.
Preference is to trying to get it in advance.
No, I understand.
Did we agree on November 13th?
That's a tentative date as of right now.
That's a tentative date. And again, November 13th, it's
They may not be able to be
Julie and-
here.
and Denise, because they have Arts and Culture Board. Let me look at November. Yeah, November.
Maybe we could split.
November, we really don't have a lot of options. Without getting really close to Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving dinner.
That's
great.
Eat early.
Who's gonna be the turkey?
Okay, well, we will have a final determination in the next meeting, but as of right now, we'll try to figure out an agenda. And yes, Billy.
So we talked about October 16th and November 13th, and the idea of doing those was that we have no meeting in December.
That's correct.
And then in January, we kind of get back to the normal groove of third Thursday.
Yes, and in January, remember, we will start kind of circling back to recommendations. So that,
At least the plan.
at least that's the plan,
It's
yes.
the plan if we can get through everything.
There is an argument, and we will work with Colleen to say, legal and finance, it seems to me that I would like more people to be here, because they seem to be more
So do you want to
weightier
postpone
matters.
those and maybe
We
bring
can,
something?
we can,
Okay.
yeah, because the other ones are rather short, Articles 11 to 16 are rather short. And we could breeze through that on October 16th, and then in the November meeting, just do 9 and 10, which are quite lengthy, but I think it's better when we are all here.
So let's talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
So that we can get the agenda put together, get it out to folks.
Yes,
If they're not gonna be at meetings, give them an opportunity
that's correct.
to submit questions, comments, concerns, or nothing. Like, there might be sections that there are no questions on.
Yes.
So that we
So,
can,
so right now,
October
the
16th.
next meeting, it's only Article 9.
We have not decided. We will meet.
What we're talking about.
we may skip 9 and 10 and do some of the shorter ones on the 16th. And then come back in November with 9 and 10 when we have a more
Okay.
full body.
Prepare the agenda.
We will send you an email as soon as we can and have it as early as we can. Probably.
No, I'm out tomorrow, so early next.
That's okay,
week.
that's okay. We will have the meeting as soon as we can. If you want notification of some of the finer details, you can give your phone number or email to Colleen, and I can send you that information as soon as we have met, and so it's a little bit more expedited. Right now I have 4, so that's okay.
Once we decide to, I can put the agenda together, boom, boom, boom.
Correct,
and then
yes, and that is true
We
too.
can get it sent out. I just
Yeah.
won't post it like I normally do.
That's correct. Any other questions, concerns? If not, we are adjourned at 8:42 with 7 seconds.
I would just note that